Welcome into Locked On Phillies. In today's episode, the Phils take 2 of 3 from the Rockies out there in Colorado. They'll head to San Francisco for another 3-game set out west and some fireworks in the series finale against those very same Rockies. We'll discuss it all on today's Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm Connor Thomas, your host. You've been hearing me talk Phillies baseball for years, credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member. Happy to be here with you as your host of Locked On Phillies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for checking us out. If you have not yet, go ahead and check us out on YouTube. If you're just listening on podcast, YouTube's such a fun way to consume the podcast as well. And you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It'll give you notifications on when new episodes are posted. That helps me out. It helps you, in my opinion, experience Locked On Phillies in the best way possible. So if you haven't done that yet, go ahead and check that out. In today's episode, we're jumping into the series in Colorado, where I liked what the Phillies were able to do outside of the final game of the series where they were shut out 4-0, and we'll get into more from that game because there were some fireworks. I like the performance the Phillies put together in Colorado. They won the first 2 games. They were able to win another series after sweeping the Blue Jays in a short 2-game set before heading out west. And they still have some good momentum heading into an upcoming series with the Giants, which we're going to talk about in the final segment of today's episode as well. But let's start with what happened in Game 1, because I haven't talked to y'all since Friday. It was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. Episodes are Monday through Friday. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Because Friday, the Philadelphia Phillies were able to take down the Colorado Rockies 6-3, and it was in, very exciting fashion late, courtesy of some guy named Bryce Harper. Yeah, I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but first off, let's start with the starting pitching. Taijuan Walker. Well, we talked about how the starting pitching has struggled multiple times on this podcast, and in the series with the Toronto Blue Jays last Tuesday and Wednesday, before they had the off day Thursday, you had Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler make a couple of great starts, and it really put the Phillies in a great position to win those 2 games, which they did. Well, Taijuan Walker came out and he kept that going. He went 6 innings pitched. He allowed 7 hits, which is a lot, but no walks, only 3 strikeouts, so he was pitching to contact a lot, and he only had 3 earned runs. If you can go 6 innings, 3 earned, that puts the Philadelphia Phillies in good position to win baseball games, and Taijuan Walker did that for them. On the other hand, for Austin Gomber, for the Colorado Rockies, he went 6 2/3, 5 hits, 3 earned. So he also did the job for the Rockies, and it was tight coming down the stretch in this one. The score didn't break onto the scoreboard. It was zeros until the 6th inning, until C.J. Cron hit a sacrifice fly to center field, scoring Charlie Blackmon. But then Alec Bohm would answer in the top of the 7th with a home run to left center. Kyle Schwarber would follow that up with a home run to center field, an absolute nuke. And then the Colorado Rockies would get 2 back in the bottom of the 7th on a Tovar single to center and a Charlie Blackmon double play that ended up resulting in a run scored. So you're looking at 3-2 Colorado Rockies in the top of the 8th when the Phillies get out of that inning. And Bryce Harper, with 2 men on, goes ahead and doubles the right field, nearly got out, absolutely smoked the ball. It's a 2 RBI double, scoring Alec Bohm, scoring Trey Turner. Or I apologize. It was 3-3 going into that. So the Phillies were tied up with the Rockies. And he hits that 2 RBI double to basically ice it. But then also Harper scored on a throwing error because he went to go ahead and steal third. The ball was overthrown, and he went ahead and jogged on in. It was an amazing effort from Bryce Harper, basically to manufacture 3 runs nearly by himself in the 8th inning in a huge spot. And then they went ahead, and the Phillies closed it down. Craig Kimbrell got the save in that one, shut down everything in the 9th. And Bryce Harper, I can't say enough good things about how this guy has played. He's absolutely unbelievable. He's an unstoppable force of baseball nature, and the Phillies are super lucky to have him back. He's been as good as anyone could have imagined him being, coming back from the UCL injury and Tommy John surgery. So great game by Bryce Harper. Don't worry, it gets even better in Game 2. So Game 2, the Philadelphia Phillies took down the Rockies 7-4. Ranger Suarez made his first start of the year. He went 4 innings. He allowed 7 hits, gave up 3 runs, walked 1 guy, had 4 strikeouts through 72 pitches. It wasn't an ideal first start for Ranger Suarez, but it wasn't a bad one. I don't think he was terrible, all things considered. It's his first start of the year, and he's facing guys that are more warmed up than him, and he's in a weird spot where he's got to just jump right in. And not that the Colorado Rockies are a great team, but jump right in without much of spring training, because you remember he got hurt in the World Baseball Classic, so he didn't get the full spring training or anything. Okay, it's basically what I'm saying is tough circumstances, I should say, for Ranger Suarez to start the year. And I'm not too concerned about him just his first start. But he goes out and he allows 3 earned through 4 innings pitched. Meanwhile, for the Colorado Rockies, Feltner threw only went 1 2/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 4 earned runs. And the reason being, well, he had a line drive hit into his head by I believe it was Nick Castellanos. Yeah, and it was a scary scene out there. Caught him clean. I think it was like 93 miles an hour off the bat. Wishing him all the best still. He was able to walk off, but of course, head injuries are always a scary thing in any sport, especially in that type of fashion. So that was a sombering part early in this game. Now, looking at the scoring lines for the game and who scored when, the Phillies were able to jump out to an early lead in this one. They got 4 in the first off of Feltner before he would leave due to injury. Nick Castellanos had an RBI single, scoring Trey Turner. Alec Bohm had an RBI single, scoring 2 RBI singles, scoring Bryce Harper and Nick Castellanos. Cody Clemens hit into a fielder's choice, scoring Kyle Schwarber. And just like that, it's 4-0 Phillies. And you feel pretty good about that. That's the way you want to get the game started when you have Ranger Suarez making his first start of the year. He had a good first. Trejo had a sacrifice fly in the second to make it 4-1. CJ Crone had a double in the third to make it 4-2. And the Rockies made it tight in the bottom of the third, with McMahon doubling the center, scoring CJ Crone after that double. So they traded places again, and it's 4-3. So luckily, Ranger Suarez would settle in a little bit after that, and the bullpen was very good. Garrett Stubbs had a big hit in the 8th inning, an RBI single to right field, scoring Cody Clemens to make it 5-3. But then Tovar again, he grounded out the second, little fielder's choice, and CJ Crone scored his second run of the game. So it's 5-4. And then what happens? Well, top of the ninth, Trey Turner gets on. Bryce Harper comes up, and he hits a 440-foot home run to right field, playing a hero again to make it 7-4 to extend the lead and give another opportunity for a save for the Philadelphia Phillies. It was Gregory Soto this time. I went ahead and locked down the door, took care of business, and the Phillies bullpen, which was very good in this one, 2, 3, 4, 5 innings of scoreless work with 1 hit allowed in those 5 innings. That's darn good bullpen work. They were able to close the door. But the real story of the 2 wins of this series have been Bryce Harper. He's absolutely unbelievable right now. He's hitting in the clutch. He's hitting for power. He's hitting for average. He's running the bases. He's playing aggressive. He doesn't seem to show any signs of any type of injury whatsoever. I mean, the guy he's back like he never left. And as someone who recovered as fast as humanly possible, maybe faster than humanly possible from Tommy John surgery, it's remarkable to see what Bryce Harper is doing right now on the baseball diamond. I can't explain it. I don't know how anyone can. We just get to sit back and marvel at how good this guy is. We get to see him again tonight. Phillies take on the San Francisco Giants, 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to go ahead and talk more about that in the final segment of today's episode. But you can go ahead and listen to the entirety of the Phillies hometown broadcast on the SiriusXM app. Just go to the SXM app and you can search Phillies. Go ahead and look that up. And you can listen to tonight's game. Should be a good one as the Phillies try to win their 3rd series in a row and keep this kind of momentum going. They've won 5 of their last 6 games. Yes. So go ahead and check that out from our friends over at SiriusXM. And coming up, we're going to talk about the loss in the Colorado Rockies series, the final game, which went on yesterday. Phil's shut out, but it wasn't a boring game by any stretch of the imagination. We'll discuss everything that went on, including the extracurriculars in yesterday's contest, we'll call it, as we continue Locked On Phillies. First, though, I want to tell you about my friends over at eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit, or your money back. because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you're going to be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and also important, the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. All right, let's talk about yesterday's contest, which was a forgettable one for the Philadelphia Phillies, not just because you were looking at a Sixers playoff game about the same time they were taking on the Rockies. But we'll do the score first, and then we'll get into the incident that everybody's been talking about. Now, on the mound for the Philadelphia Phillies was Aaron Nola, who went 7 innings pitched, gave up 6 hits and 4 earned runs. It wasn't his best performance, but the offense really didn't hold up their end of the bargain. Kyle Freeland went 6 innings pitched for the Rockies, allowed 4 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 8 Ks. He had a really good day. The Phillies offense just didn't show up. Sometimes you're going to have those days where you just don't put together a strong offensive performance. So the scoring recap is going to be super easy to get to. CJ Cron grounded into a fielder's choice in the bottom of the first inning against Aaron Nola. And then Charlie Blackmon scored on an error. There was a throwing error by Trey Turner, which was it was not a good play. And you look at a situation where the Rockies are already up 2-0. They get a third off of a Doyle homer to left in the 5th inning. And they got a 4th run off of a Chris Bryant RBI single also in the 5th inning. That was all the scoring in the game. Only scoring was in 2 innings. Rockies got 2 in the 1st. They got 2 in the 5th. The Phillies got blanked. That's all it was. And the Rockies, give Kyle Freeland some credit. He went out there and he pitched well. The Phillies didn't really put together much at all. I mean, they out-hit the Rockies. They had 7 hits. The Rockies only had 6. Just couldn't scratch one across. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, wow, the clutch hitting is terrible for the Phillies. They need to be able to come through in those spots. They've won 5 of their last 6. They're not on the slide anymore. You're going to have games where you just getaway day, maybe thinking about the next series, already won the series. I don't know. Whatever reason, you just go ahead and Mother's Day, maybe they're thinking about being with their moms and hanging out with family or something. I don't know what it is. I'm not overly concerned about this loss to the Colorado Rockies. But what really caught my eye about this game and what caught most people's eye was the incident between Bryce Harper and Jake Bird. Jake Bird, reliever for the Colorado Rockies. So Bird went ahead and he worked out of the inning that he was pitching. And as he was leaving the field, he pitched the 7th. He came in after Kyle Freeland was done. And after he got out of the inning, decided to turn and start screaming stuff to the Phillies dugout like an absolute loser. Like Jake Bird could not have handled this situation worse. Act like you've been there before. It's a mid-May baseball game in a series you've already lost against a team that's significantly better than you. You're 17-24. The Phillies are 20-20, and they have not had a good start. These are not even matchups between these teams. You don't deserve to be talking trash to the Philadelphia Phillies in this type of a situation. It's certainly not to Bryce Harper, who's been the biggest part of this series and the best player in this series so far. But he yells, and then Harper went berserk, pushing through people, trying to get over to the Rockies bench, where Jake Bird decided to scurry into the clubhouse, into the dugout like a coward after yelling. Didn't want any of the smoke from the Phillies or Bryce Harper. I mean, Real Muto was over there. Schwarber was over there. And it was a full-on like pushing and shoving and screaming. No punches were thrown really that I've seen when watching the replays, but there was certainly some good baseball shoving going on. This was not the meander around and kind of talk to each other. No, they were getting after it. And it started with Bryce Harper and Jake Bird, who were both ejected from the game. I mean, Rob Thompson had already been ejected. It was a strangely umpired game. There was some weird question about some neighborhood double play ball earlier in the game that the Rockies were given 2 outs for, and the Phillies might have had runner safe at both the bases. It was not a very well umpired game. And they tried to get control of that situation by ejecting Harper and Bird, who, I mean, I guess technically both deserved it, but really it was instigated by Bird for no reason whatsoever and just feeling the need to go ahead and yell at the Phillies dugout. I mean, that's a rat move. You shouldn't be doing that. You should just, if you want to yell, okay. If you want to like maybe look at the Phillies dugout, okay. But constantly carrying on your way off the field to the Phillies dugout when you're a nobody, I have no interest in the Phillies allowing that to slide. I think they did the right thing by confronting Bird and going over there. I don't blame Bryce Harper for being fired up. And I don't think he needs to handle his emotions any differently. No, I think he did it the right way. And maybe that will be something that, not that this team needs to be super fired up because they've been playing well, but maybe it adds a little fuel to the fire for Bryce Harper and this team and wakes them up a little bit on a day where it didn't seem like they were really awake. Again, I'm not faulting them for it. Was it a great performance on Sunday? No. But I'm not faulting them for losing one game out of their last six. Okay. That type of stuff happens in baseball. But if they did feel like they were sleepwalking, they certainly didn't after the seventh inning when that whole situation went down. It didn't show for anything on the scoreboard, but maybe the Phillies can use that motivation pushing forwards to the series with the San Francisco Giants. But you know what? It's also kind of good to see the Bryce Harper emotion come out and see that he's the same old guy when he needs to be. He's matured in now his older age, we'll call it, in the prime of his career. He's not the brash young player he was when he first came up with the Washington Nationals, getting choked out by his own teammates and a lot of Major League Baseball and its fans thinking, "Oh, this guy, he's too pompous. He's a loser. This, that, and the other thing." No, that's not Bryce Harper anymore. The dude has been incredibly mature, a model citizen, a great teammate since coming to Philadelphia. I can't say enough good things about the guy. I will say that when he first came up, I was in that camp that I was talking about before where I didn't like him. And part of it was because he played for the Washington Nationals and that's a rival. But I feel like that was a very common trend. And then he's grown very much into who he is as a man and as a baseball player. And I respect that. But when you do that, you can't totally just turn off all the emotion and everything like that. If somebody chirps at you, chirp back, go after him. You're the leader of this team. You're a fiery player. You play with your heart on your sleeve. Okay, well, go ahead and show it. He's yelling at you. If you want to go ahead and you think that's too far, I have no issue with what Bryce Harper did whatsoever. And I love that he still has that fire in him, despite being more mature now than he was early on in his career. So I did like to see that from the Philadelphia Phillies to show that they're not going to take grief from anybody. No, if you're going to chirp at the Phillies, they're going to come right back at you. This is a team that you're not going to want to play and you're not going to want to mess with, or you're going to be dealing with Harper and Schwarber and Remuto and Castellanos and all these guys that I don't know about you all out there, but I wouldn't want to be in a fight with any of them. So I like the fight from the Philadelphia Phillies, despite that it didn't show on the field. That's one of those like character type of things. You remember last year, we talked about this actually just last week with the Kyle Schwarber ejection when Angel Hernandez had just called a terrible game. And it had nothing to do with the game. The Phillies ended up losing, whatever. They weren't playing well right now. But that was kind of one of those emotional moments that you look back on and you say, okay, that fired the team up. That let people know exactly where one of their leaders' heads is at, and the emotion came out, and you could see how much he cares. Well, that's what Bryce Harper did yesterday. And not totally apples to apples comparison there, but when teams think, you don't often see that type of emotion, okay? They just show up and they go through the motions and they go down. Nope, the Phillies are going to fight this year. And it starts with Bryce Harper. And man, did he fight in this series, not just on Sunday, but with two big moments late in both game one and game two. Awesome. Now, the Phillies go out to San Francisco and they'll face the Giants tonight, 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Get your sleep in. Maybe you don't want to have tired eyes in the morning, so you want to listen to the game instead of watch it. Well, go to the Sirius XM app, and you can listen to every pitch of the Phillies' hometown broadcast of Phillies Giants tonight. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies, and you'll hear the Phillies broadcast. If you search Giants and you want to hear the opposition perspective for whatever reason, you can do that. But you want to listen to the Phillies hometown broadcast. So go ahead and do that, and you'll be able to hear what's going on out there in San Francisco. And coming up, we're just going to take a quick look at game one tonight, kind of the series in general, and how did the Phillies continue to do what they've done recently and stay hot and win another series. It's a winnable one. Giants haven't been playing that well. So we'll go ahead and get into it as we wrap up Locked On Phillies. All righty. Game one, Phillies, Giants out there in San Francisco. The last game of the West Coast swing before the Phillies come home and take on the Chicago Cubs. The Phillies have another off day coming up on Thursday. So got a good amount of rest recently. That's good. They've settled down. The records between these two teams. The Phillies, 20-20, dead even. 2020 vision. When it comes to what they've done so far this season. The San Francisco Giants, 17-23. So that, by my terrible math, is 6 games below 500. let's go ahead and look and see what we're looking at for this series. Now, tonight, you have Bailey Falter facing off against Alex Wood. Alex Wood has been pretty darn good so far this season. And now he's only got 11 innings pitched so far this year. But he's got a 2.45 ERA with 12 Ks and a 1.64 whip. That's not bad. Small sample size, but not bad. Clearly, the pitching advantage goes to the San Francisco Giants in this one. And Bailey Falter, when you look at his, you can see why I'm about to tell you where the ESPN analytics are, where they are. Falter is 0-6 on the year, a 5.75 ERA. He has 26 Ks and a 1.39 whip. Now, part of that's bad luck, part of that's bad performance. But Bailey Falter has not been good for the Phillies so far this season. And the ESPN analytics have the Giants as a 60.5% chance to win tonight. The Phillies only a 39.5% chance. Now, the good news is the Phillies should probably be favored in the next two games of the series because they are the better team than the Giants, and they're going to put out the better lineup than the Giants, and they should be able to handle this. I mean, we said it coming into the road trip, right? 4 of 6 is the expectation. Anything more than that is a bonus, but you should win both those series. Well, they took care of business against the Rockies. Now, just win 2 of 3 against the Giants. And if that's losing game 1 and winning the next 2, fine with that. Just find a way to win 2 games. And not that I think the Phillies can't win tonight, but you're looking at a situation where it's a tough pitching matchup for the Philadelphia Phillies, especially considering Wood for the Giants is a lefty, and that doesn't always play as well against it plays well against the Phillies. It doesn't play well for the Phillies, I should say. So that gets a little bit tough. But I think the Philadelphia Phillies can handle it. Just looking at who's hot right now, Kyle Schwarber still leads the Phillies with home runs. He is 9th of the season against the Colorado Rockies. Michael Conforto leads the Giants with 7 homers. Nick Castellanos, a 3.16 average to lead the Phillies in batting average. Thairo Estrada is leading the Giants in batting average with 3.14. So very comparable there. And J.D. Davis, our old friend who used to be on the Mets, of course, you remember him from there. He leads the Giants with 22 RBIs. Alec Boehm leads the Phillies with 28 RBIs. So some solid players there with the Giants. They don't have a bunch of no-name guys, but they're not as talented as the Philadelphia Phillies, and they're not really in a competitive place in the NL West with what the Padres and Dodgers do year in and year out there. So, yeah, it's a winnable series. This is a team that hasn't been playing all that well lately in the San Francisco Giants. Go ahead and take advantage. They're coming off of a 3 out of 4 games lost to the Diamondbacks in a 4-game series. I worded that weird. They played 4 games against the Diamondbacks this past weekend. They lost 3 of them. They're not playing well right now. Prior to that, they lost 2 or 3 to the Nationals, who are not good. They lost to the Brewers before that. I mean, the Giants just have not been playing good baseball right now. When you get a team like this, you got to take advantage, and the Phillies certainly need to tonight. 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, listen to every pitch of the Phillies hometown radio broadcast on the Sirius XM app. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies, and you go ahead and pull that up. So those are my thoughts, and I know you might be thinking, because on Friday we brought up off the poll. We're going to go ahead and do that. There was a lot to get into. I realized I had 3 games to recap and a series to preview. We're going to jump into that tomorrow. The off the poll responses. So I'll put out the Rhys Hoskins tweet, and we'll get your thoughts on how he's affected the Phillies with his injury, and if the Phillies would be better without him or with him, or however you look at it. How do you think Rhys Hoskins would help? Or some people who are Rhys Hoskins herders would say he would hurt this team by being healthy. We'll discuss that in the final segment of tomorrow's episode, so make sure you're tuned in for that. But that's all for today's Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much for making Locked On Phillies your priority and part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Of course, your team every day. Make sure you're rating and reviewing wherever you consume your podcasts and subscribing on the YouTube as well. I already told you about how important that is, so appreciate that very much. I'll talk to you tomorrow on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.